This is Lemon Water Chronicles, episode 7. This is Edina.
This is Rob. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. And we have an excellent topic today, one that you are massively qualified to speak on. And that is...
how art can save our lives.
Yeah. Save our lives?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, I can check if you want.
That's pretty dramatic, because people would imagine taking a painting off the wall and using it to beat off intruders.
Or steal it and sell it, and you will have lots of money.
Exactly. Well, that's not exactly what we mean. No. We should apologize in advance. The dogs are out, and they tend to bark. And so those are real dogs. We're not just Foleying those.
AI dogs.
No, they're not AI. Yeah. Definitely.
Sometimes I wish they would.
Yeah, they're very artificial intelligence. It's absent intelligence is what they have. That's their AI. And the other thing we should apologize for is that we know that sometimes we're a little bit difficult to hear because we don't like this current thing where you've got this big penile microphone in your face. And we think that's a little bit fake. But there are nice clip-on microphones we could use, but we can't afford them, so we don't have them.
We will.
So
at some point.
We will at some point. If any sponsors are out there, just look us up. Comments, please. Anyway, I'm getting off topic.
We have to apologize for our completely messed up week. Because we lost one day in our head.
Yes, we missed it. We're off schedule. But we're going to be on schedule this week. This will be our Halloween edition that will drop on...
Or Ghosty is not here right now.
No, Ghosty is off haunting somewhere else. Haunting her grandmother, I think. Yeah. So...
in La La Land.
So many apologies. This is a half Canadian show, but it's it's still a lot of apologies. Yeah.
I'm here for...
Yes. Balance. We apologize for nothing. Yes. So apologies are all behind us now. We can move on to the topic at hand. Now, full disclosure.
How we can...
Again, you are a certified art therapist.
Not art therapist.
Oh, sorry.
No, not... Because art therapist is, you need a background in psychology, but not like researching psychological things, like a real psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
And I would need 1 more year to be a master, so I can lead art therapy workshops.
You are qualified to lead art therapy.
Yeah.
You have 2 years of training.
Yeah, like a facilitator or whatever. I don't know how do you say.
That's significant.
But not therapist. Let's be honest.
Sorry. Sorry. So this is a very good topic.
But yes, I learned about this and experienced a lot, and from my childhood I have experience too about art. So
from your childhood?
Yeah. We talk about shame and guilt, and I experienced lots of shame during my childhood, and the only time when I felt confident and I felt that I can do something very, very good, when I was dancing, and that was my hiding hole.
Really? When you were expressing yourself creatively through dance?
Yeah.
Wow. And did at the time you realize that this was a form of artistic self-expression, or was just a realization that you felt free and...
As a kid, I just enjoyed very much, and I have the knowledge that I was good at it because of the reaction I got.
You're good at everything.
No, it's not true.
It is true.
No, it's not true. What we were talking about.
Okay, sorry.
No, it gave me some place where I could go and recharge myself, feel good about myself, and being confident that I'm a good mover.
I had a similar experience in childhood playing the drums.
Mm-hmm.
The first few years of playing the drums were not joyful for me because I'm not a flowy kind of person. But once I started to get the hang of it, then when I would just go down to the basement and play the drums just for myself, just improvising, that was very liberating and very satisfying. And when I was upset by something or I just felt like I didn't belong, I would go down there and do that, and that was satisfying. At the time, I didn't think of it as being therapeutic, but it was the outlet that I gravitated to.
I wasn't thinking about that was art.
Yeah,
Because it's so natural, and this is something about art that lots of people think that this is something that some people are doing in their ivory tower, isolated, and they're doing their creative stuff like Picasso or Dali or I don't know who. But art is something which is coming from all of us. I truly believe that everyone has an artistic self, because art is just a way to express yourself to the outside world, and of course understanding the world. Every kid is able to draw until someone is telling, no, that's not really good, honey.
wasn't it Picasso who said every child is an artist?
Yeah.
So that goes away because of criticism, or people expect a certain standard, and so unless you're a
Stay
great
within the line when you are coloring. That was my favorite.
oh yeah, color within the lines. Yeah,
You know that if people would let kids to create as they want, and just for the joy, not even to self-expression, but this is the beauty of the art. Why you are doing art without any goal, just because it's good to, doing this with crayons, or you are activating biochemicals in your body when your stress level goes down, when you calm yourself, when you put out something that it better if it's out than inside. And if it's not that, then just the joy that, okay, I can do this. This is blue, this is pink, or just moving with the music, or just playing. This is, I like the English expression, play music. This is how it should be. Really play with music. Just play, just try, just put yourself in without any expectation or judgment. But Zoltán Kodály was a very famous Hungarian musician and teacher. I think he ended up in Canada.
really, I didn't know where Kodály wound up.
Or US, but North America, because Hungary is Hungary all the time, and he had this Kodály Mozart, how do you say, like
His technique for
method,
training. Yeah, the method. That's
the
right.
method, and the method. It wasn't about teaching. The method was about experiencing music. And he believed that every child is able to play music, no matter what. So he had a system where the child can experience and discover and experiment. And after what the Hungarian education did it, exactly the opposite. You have to hit this note, you have to play this way, rules and boxes and just
that happens in music.
Stuffing. So art can save your life if you are able to experience art as it is, because when it's turning something that you have to do it, and you have to do it in a perfect way, and you are going for competitions and so on and so on, if the joy is not there, that's again a different thing.
Well, most people think about, or many people think about art as being a colorful rectangle on the wall. And if they feel that they're not good at drawing, then they're not an artist, they don't do art. But you've talked about dance, I've talked about music. There must be all kinds of other forms of artistic self-expression that people generally don't think of as being art, yet could still be really valuable for providing a release and something that lets them turn off the noise of the conscious mind, all the stresses and worries and plans and everything, and just let something flow creatively out of what's inside them, mentally and spiritually and emotionally. And so what else is available to people who feel that they are not artists? What kind of outlets could they involve themselves in?
And so, so many gardening could be artistic.
That's true.
and of course sports could be artistic, and like almost any kind of thing that you are creating with your body. I think your body has to be involved in somehow.
It's a physical,
A physical
manifestation of an inner.
Yeah, like you are putting the inner thing out, and you are using your body as a tool. Of course, you are prolonging it with a brush, or prolong it with a little thing that we are using in the garden. I don't know how this is.
Spade or shovel.
Whatever, yeah.
Or your limbs, or just.
When the kids are building sand castles, who would say that's not art when they're putting, they are, putting little shells and decorating and, to create, express yourself, create, release, and you have the flow in it.
Where you're making spontaneous choices that aren't being judged or governed by.
And you are having this state of mind when you are just in this flow mindset, when you don't know what time is it, you are just so into what you are doing. We can see in kids when they are just in their world, and that's really health or mental health.
Why does that go out of education? What is it? Is it that it's too hard to govern and grade and restrict and define, so it's sort of taken out, or does it just get replaced by things that people consider to be more important for children to learn?
Who wants to have free citizens? Who are free to create, who are free to express. It's better if they are disciplined and doing the same, so they start to compete. Just imagine a world where kids are not judged by their creative work.
We sort of have that world.
And Waldorf schools are trying to do that it's never the product is the important, it's the way that you are going until you have this thing, which could be, knitting or wood carves or singing or playing music, painting, or just, do the plasterina.
Oh, plasticine, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, and they all do it all, don't they?
Yeah.
At the Waldorf, it's not like those are the music kids and these are the...
No. Everyone is doing everything.
And no one is saying, well, you're not very good at knitting, are you? You better just give it up. No, that doesn't happen there. And it's true that these kids have this kind of unity of connectedness. If it's just to observe them, it's really interesting how comfortable they are in the world, because I guess they all derive a certain amount of confidence from being able to see themselves doing things that are normally channeled to a select few kids who are seen as being especially
and there
gifted.
is not this stigma and bilog on their head of front that you are good in singing and that's it. You are the singer. And of course, for example, our second kid is a wonderful singer. She knows that she has great voice and musical abilities, but she has to do the knitting, which she doesn't really like because it's very boring for her. But still, she's participating and she's dealing with it, even if it's not what she really would like to do, it's still an artwork she has to go through, and this is how they achieve different skills, but this is a little bit out of the topic. So, but art should be accessible for everyone. This shouldn't be a privilege. It shouldn't just mean that, we are going to the museum to see some art, we are going to the theater to see some art. Art should be an everyday, casual thing for all of us.
It's kind of a gateway to self-understanding, isn't it?
Of course.
Now, I have to confess that I didn't fully understand the nature of art, or I gained a big jump in my comprehension of the meaning of art when I started to be confronted with David Bowie's music. Because when I was a kid and was on the radio, I found some of it disturbing, and something about his way of presenting himself, his album covers, his songs. It was yeah. I know. It's wonderful stuff, and this is the core of it. Is that it is literally art rock. Like as his career progressed, he understood more and more what it meant to incorporate the idea of art into the realm of popular music, and also in self-presentation as personal branding and that sort of thing. He handled very artistically and ended up handling his entire life very artistically. And it's the very fact that it was disturbing that made me realize that art isn't something that just puts you in a pleasant frame of mind. It's something that affects you on an emotional level and makes you ask yourself, well, why is that disturbing? Or why is this uplifting? And why does this make me question myself? Or why does this make me see the world differently? And it's bypassing the world of words and maybe the left brain way of thinking, to use an old-fashioned term. But it gets to the core of you, and it's like a shortcut to what's important. And when you find something disturbing in art, you don't tell yourself, oh, I don't like that. You ask yourself why it's disturbing and what is it about what's inside you that is uncomfortable with what you're seeing or experiencing, whether it's music or something visual or something on the stage. And this is what I started to realize what art really meant for the individual as they are not just an absorber of art, but someone who's interacting with their own experience of the art, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's definitely an interactive process.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you brought this layer in, and especially Bowie. But for me, this is the second layer of art. When someone is doing art in such an exceptional way that you cannot hide from it. You know, it has an effect on you. Like, if I'm doing my own art thing, it's very satisfying for me, not essentially the painting or whatever, just that I'm doing this, you know, or when the kids are building the sandcastle. But when art is, you know, it's elevated to this sphere where your inner world is somehow out there, and it's kind of a reflection of you, and you touch by it, or you can connect with it, and you cannot explain lots of time why. It's just working. Mm-hmm. That's something that really, really can save your life. And I know that Bowie did it with lots of people, because they don't feel alone. They feel, okay, I'm that weirdo too. I'm belonging to somewhere. I'm not alone. And when you're experiencing this, when art can touch you, oh my gosh, I'm so emotional again.
It's okay.
That you just, you know, it's something activated inside you, in your heart, in your soul, when the most human thing that we can give to each other is this, with love, with art, with sometimes with religion, whatever. When you feel connected, and really Bowie was amazing with this. He saved generations of people
from feeling isolated,
lonely, isolated, outlier, strange, cuckoo. And you know, if someone so cool like him saying, you know, I'm cuckoo and I'm okay with that, then you feel reward inside yourself that, okay, I'm not a loser. And art is a non-verbal domain, even with lyrics. You know, music, it's with the lyrics, so it's going hand in hand. But most of art is non-verbal, right? So it's not attaching to your prefrontal cortex. It's not activating your logic. Mm-hmm. It's activating which is inside you, and you cannot explain why. And that's why, because this is something so unconscious that it's not reachable all the time. And this is when, this moment, this click, it's happening, and you are just like that, and you are out of your body. I experienced so many times just looking at people dancing. Sometimes I was just sitting, and my tears were coming, and I couldn't understand. I didn't want to. I just gave myself to the experience. Or when I was in Barcelona and listening the Bowie Symphonic, Evan Zipperain,
Oh yeah.
and I was crying during the whole concert. They covered the Black Star, the last album of Bowie, and it just touched me, and I just felt connected to them, to the music, to my inner world. Sometimes, for people who feel they cannot create art, this is a, how do you say,
A back door, or
not a back door, when you hurt your leg and you cannot feel, and you
a
have
crutch?
yeah, for their soul. This is the back door for their soul, when they can connect,
Experience someone
inner.
else's art.
Yeah.
It's funny you mention that about Bowie's lyrics. I'm often asked by non-native English musicians what a particular Bowie song means. And I have to say, sometimes you can't really answer that question. He sort of paints very abstract pictures with his words, but you can't take a literal meaning from it. He takes words that have certain weight, and sometimes he chose them randomly, using drawing words like we draw things from Grandpa Fred's hat, and he would build songs that way. But he would be like the kid choosing a shell or a stick when they're building a sandcastle. He'd say, yes, I like this word, I like this with this, and I like this mood that this creates. So he's painting with moods. He's not using words to write a recipe or a story. He's using them for their value, their evocative value, and their artistic value. And so even though many of his songs can't be said to mean anything literally, it doesn't make them any less impactful. It makes them more impactful.
Because, he, and this is something so genius about him. We wouldn't talk about Robbie all the time, but he's, that this is the essence of art, that you don't want to experience here. You want to experience everywhere in your body. And if you are just here, then you lose. Like a synesthesia, it's so multimodal. And lots of time I don't understand Bowie's lyrics, and I really don't care sometimes what does it mean, because it means something for me, and that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was crazy about him, and study his music, because it was so interesting and intellectual art. Like, there is the African drumming, which can evoke very deep, ancient, fundamental. But Bowie did this with art, that he used both of it and, make a twist. So it was just fascinating for me how he was able to do that. And it's so ancient, it's when the drumming or the leader of the group, making these sounds, this vroom, vroom, these non-words thing. They just want to evoke, put you in a mindset where you can wash yourself and stay connected with the tribe. And so it's, again, a way of connecting, really.
And thinking too much could interfere with all that. When you mentioned something about knowledge, not like, I could imagine someone who had become an expert in sculpture, for example. They'd studied sculpture and they knew the history and all the techniques and everything. They might have a hard time looking at a piece and not thinking, well, this is the material, these are the tools they would have used, and this was from this period in this sculptor's life, and drowning the artistic effect in distracting facts. And I wonder if, for someone who's knowledgeable and studied in some form of art is at a disadvantage because it's harder for them to shut all that off.
But ask yourself, you are a research mother and you know so many things about him. And for me, his music is very pure. Like I don't know almost anything about him compared to you. So when we went to the Budapest Festival Orchestra and we listened the four, it was just hitting me. And, I was like virgin. I didn't know anything about him, but still the music just like a cyclone, it was just washing me away. And I was again there naked and exposed. But you know so much about him.
Well, it's very artistic music.
Whether you can turn off that researcher inside you.
But I've actually made deliberate education choices to avoid learning about aspects of his music. I deliberately chose not to analyze, to perform analysis on his music, a formal analysis, or to learn too much about the historical connections, like to know that this theme came from a Brahms symphony and this arrangement was something that Wagner would have done. I don't want to know those sort of things. I don't want to be reminded of those when I'm trying to just get the music for what it is. And so part of it was knowing that I'm a little bit obsessive compulsive, and that if I had all that information, it would be a battle to put it aside. And this is why a lot of musicians actually turn to drugs, because it gives them access to their unconscious mind. It shuts down all the noise that makes them feel like weirdos in the world. And there are musicians who do this with meditation. Kenny Werner is an educator who has shown that you can use meditation instead of medication and actually achieve those states without compromising the abilities that would be compromised if you were doing drugs, for example. But the goal is the same: is to shut down that know-it-all in your head, and just access what's inside you, both to produce and to receive, or maybe to do these simultaneously, as you do in a jazz ensemble, a little jazz combo playing together. That is a magical thing. To know what's going on in people's minds and hearts and emotions in that context, because they're listening to each other and they're creating, and they're taking this idea for what's something she did and then something he did, and they're building on that, and they're all listening, and it's a magical thing. It doesn't occur in other genres the way it does in improvised music, not just jazz, but there are other fields of improvised music. But that's a very special form of artistic self-expression that unfortunately so many musicians get locked out of if they're identified as being good at an instrument when they're in school, and then they get shoved into lessons, and then they join an orchestra, and then you end up with orchestral musicians who can't actually sit down and improvise. They can have all the skills they need to play very, very complicated works, reading them from paper. But if you're reading from paper, then you are here. Yeah. You're not here. Yeah. And if you could do both, that's great. And often in orchestras, they don't want too much of this. They want just the conductor.
Like a little soldier.
A little soldier. It can become very clerical. But it's unfortunate that can interfere with what you mentioned earlier, play. When you play music, it must have this element of play to really be elevated above just a rote-like execution of a sequence of skills.
Something that you mentioned, it really bring a memory from me, because it's very funny. I really almost never drunk when I went out with my friends. Drugs, absolutely not. And the ones who didn't know me, they always thought I'm completely drunk or I used something. Because when I was dancing, the music activated me so badly and deeply and energetically that I was literally dancing from 10-11 p.m. until 4-5 a.m. Sometimes,
oh, yeah.
Really, the music was good, because when it's not, it's just like, whoa. But if the music was the one which I liked, I could just go and dance and dance and dance. And of course, live music is something fantastic. I was in a concert which was a little bit electronic, a little bit drum and bass, but the rhythm was something very ancient too. It's called Korai. It's a Hungarian electro, the fusion, little bit transcendent, just which can really put you in a how do you say when
trance.
Trance, yeah.
Is it like Dead Can Dance, that sort of thing, or is
but
it
no, that
more
can
intense?
dance, that can dance is something
Cinematic,
Korai, you feel the heart, the adrenaline, the endorphin is just it's coming. And it was a long concert. It did it, constantly, and I was sweating and dancing 2-3 hours. And in the end, I just felt the release. Like, and your mind is in different place. Your dance. So what I wanted to tell you that you mentioned addiction and biochemical reaction and all of these hormones. Like the endorphin, the adrenaline, the oxytocin. When you are just in a very elevated way, that actually that's why it can have to save our life, because instead of turning to drugs and alcohol and smoking, actually you can choose art. And it's a very interesting stat that in Iceland in the beginning of the 90s, kids, like teenagers, were heavy smokers, and they went
in Iceland.
90s.
Just to keep warm, maybe.
I don't know, but and the desperation.
Yeah.
So somehow they had a government who said, okay, this is not good, and they implemented a whole program for young teenagers to offer free art classes, at least during 3 months, but if you want to go in, you can. Most of the kids stayed, and they pushed down smoking and drinking. Like, I don't know exactly the stat, but let's say it was 53% or even more with alcohol, and they went to 3.
Good heavens.
And now Iceland has the healthiest young population in Europe.
Because they gave them free art lessons?
Yes, because they found the same biochemical reactions like in what our drugs are doing it for you for a very short amount of period, and that's why you get addicted, because you just want to go back there.
Right.
But they're able to do it for themselves.
Wow. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's fascinating and fantastic. But you need to have a healthy soul, because we saw so many artists falling through the cracks and kill themselves in young age and using drugs. So it's not purely art, because these sensitive people can really be alone. We have so many examples.
Mm-hmm.
But if, it's a combination of things, but art can really, really help everyone. Iceland is a proof. Your life, my life is a proof.
Yeah, I while you were talking, I remembered, I don't know why this didn't come to mind earlier when we drew this topic. Maybe I kind of blocked it out. I'm not even sure that I told you this story. I think maybe I have.
Okay.
It's a little bit disturbing, a little bit personal. But when I was a teenager, I didn't know it because it wasn't really talked about at the time. But I think I was quite depressed. And like a lot of teens probably are, it's just a difficult time. And I felt very isolated. And music really helped me, because I was playing music and I was playing music with other people. And so that gave me a social circle that I felt connected to. But I at a really, really down time, I just didn't see a future for myself. I was 17 and I'd just go for long walks, and I wasn't sure that I would come back. And one of these walks, when I was really full of despair and I thought that my life was completely pointless. I I walked by an art gallery, the Civic Art Gallery, and I saw that in the window they had just some blinking lights. There, they were intriguing little things. And I was into electronics. I had been since I was a kid. I liked to build things with blinking lights, and so I thought, well, it's free. The gallery was free, and I was there. I'll just go in, and get warm and look around, and it was amazing what I saw in there. Someone who had good electronic skills, really knew how to design with electronics, but was also very, very creative, had built these wonderful plexiglass sculptures with lights in them. Some of them made sound, and the components were not hidden away in a box. They were part of the sculpture. So these sculptures were made out of what was performing the visual and audio stimuli. They were what they are, if that made any sense. They were just so unashamed of what was making them do what they did in the world. And I just saw that as a great example of how one could live. That if a perfect world would be one where you didn't have to be ashamed of your inner workings, and they could be beautiful. That the way you thought and the way you felt could be beautiful things and shareable things, and things that had an interface to the world that in itself was beautiful. So even if people didn't understand what all those components were doing, they had these lights, and so I thought, well, if I've got the inner workings, and I can have the lights too, and if someone could come up with these things and put them there and somehow get them into a gallery rather than just in their basement all by themselves, and the world can't be such a bad place after all. And I just had to tough out the difficult things and realize that there was a place for that artist, and there would be a place for me somewhere too. And so things improved after that in fits and starts. But I come back to that moment because it was truly pivotal. It changed my thinking, and it probably literally saved my life as well. Because without that, I was just spiraling down, and that really did. I hope that's not too much of a downer thing to share, but it really was an instance when art in an unexpected form made me think, made me feel, and changed how I felt about myself and my life. And that's what else can do that? Only the love of a person who sees you for who you are. That's the only other thing I can think of, and not everyone has yet had the good fortune that we have in finding each other. But there's always something in the world that you can connect to, the person or something a person has created, or an idea that can bring you back and make you realize that there is a place for you, and you don't have to feel like an outsider, like a weirdo. You can celebrate who you are and stay connected, stay in the game.
Yeah, and this is the only one thing that it's reinforcing you as a human being. That's enough. And this is how we met. That's why we are together, because we love Bowie's music, and I don't know if we wouldn't, then whether we would be together. So it's it's connecting people with each other. It's not just you are connecting to the art piece and have this interaction with this thing, which is not, of course, the piece itself, but actually lots of people can be connected to this thing and get to know each other.
It's interesting in galleries wouldn't it be great if in galleries and those kinds of
Rendezvous.
spaces, if people could talk to each other? You know, if you just talk to strangers. Yeah, it's always, you know, I'm looking at this one. Oh, you're okay. Now I'll go over here. But to say, you know, what do you think of it? Maybe it's.
But the concert is the same, Rob.
Yeah,
No
I know
one
you
is
can't
talking.
talk. Yeah, but you get the sense that everyone's enjoying it the same amount because people are jumping up and down and screaming at not at Mahler, they should be, but they don't. But the kind of concerts you were talking about earlier, there's
Where
this.
he is singing, by the way.
But you get this excitement, and everyone they all know the songs. You look over, everyone's singing along with the same songs. That's a very connecting and unifying sensation, and it's probably why those are so popular with people at the most disenfranchised stage of life, young people who are just entering adulthood, and they think, what is this world that I'm inheriting here, and what place is there for me in this? I can't afford to live the way I grew up, and then you go with a bunch of people your age to hear this music, and you all know it, and it says something to all of you. That just it keeps you together. It keeps you in the game. It keeps you knowing that there are voices out there and hearts that you can connect to. I'm sure my mom would have loved it if I'd gone into an art gallery and walked up to some young woman and said, "What is this? What does this painting do for you?" She was always telling me,
Go to the library.
"You go to the library." When I said, "Oh, I mean, I can't meet any girls that I like," and you go to the library. That's crazy. Who's going to, walk up to? And what would some woman do? She's studying for her biology paper, and some guy comes up. And, "Hey, my mom says I should talk to smart girls. Are you smart?" So I couldn't see doing that. But the point was that that if you find someone who's interacting with some form of art in a way that makes sense to you or that interests you, then you suddenly got a connection to another person. And today, with the internet, that's even easier than ever to find your group and to be exposed to more things that can excite you.
Unfortunately, it's not a guarantee that the other one is an asshole. But
No, the assholes are out there too, of course. But still, think 100 years ago, there would be worlds of creativity and output that you would just never know about. Things that the way they made music here, or the way they painted here, the way they danced there, you would just never know about it. But now you can find your thing, and you can find people who react to it the way you do.
would it be too much to share the moment that when during Lazarus, from your perspective and mine?
No.
Because art can give really the green light for yourself to be authentic.
Yeah, without you giving that green light, sometimes it just gets taken from you, and that was the case at that moment. So I give my perspective, and so I was performing David Bowie's music, which is the only music I sing generally. I became a singer because someone thought I looked like David Bowie. I know, crazy. So, but I did it once, and it did something for me. And it wasn't the attention. It was, I don't know, the music had this fascination. So the night we're talking about, I was performing Lazarus, which was on his final album, and it's a song that's about death, and you can tell that there's some biographical,
like a memoir, no?
Yeah, and dark but hopeful, and usually when I'm performing, I can't get out of my head. I'm worried about whether that person is enjoying themselves, or everyone in the back is talking to each other, or they hate me, or I wore the wrong clothes, and it's really hard to shut that off. Or when a bad note comes out, you just think, oh, no one's ever going to come back again. But that moment when I was singing Lazarus, it did something to me. It brought something out of me, and the audience vanished. The band vanished. The band was great. That was a very, very good band. Bowie's Keep Swinging, silly name, but great band. They were really on fire. They were creating. They were like a jazz ensemble, at that time, and it loosened something in me. It just, and I started to think about death, and I started to think about my weird relationship with my father, and I started to think about David Bowie as a person. I started to think of David Jones and what he was sharing more and more of himself as his career went on, his true self, and definitely in that album it's all through it. And imagine what it was like for him, knowing he was dying, choosing not to share that information with anyone.
Mm.
So he's recording an album with people who have no idea that he's dying, that he'll be dead in a few months. It was just a shock to everyone, except for maybe 2 or 3 people who knew him. But somehow this all just came out when I was singing, and the song was about me, and it was about him at the same time. It was about everyone at the same time. I don't know how to define it. Maybe it's better that I don't try to, but something very, very real and emotional and unconscious just came out when I was singing that. And when I look at the video, because that was filmed, I can see that. I can see that when I look at me, that I had gone deep, and I hadn't planned to. I didn't know why, but it just, then it became a much better performance because of that, because it was authentic, and I wasn't thinking about anything. And that was the night that you were in the audience, and there was something in that song that caught your attention, and you wrote to me about it. And of all the things we played for that song, which a lot of people don't know at all, and is kind of dark, and you wrote to me about that song, and I'm almost embarrassed after I sang it that night, because I felt like something like I'd been naked on stage. And then you wrote about that song. How in the world did she see what I was feeling? What this unrestrained personal moment, that she caught that and responded to that. And then we started to correspond, and you said all kinds of outrageous and authentic things that convinced me that I needed to meet this person. One of which was, it's good that you're not trying to look or sound like Bowie, because that would be ridiculous. I like this person. I want to meet this person. This is not someone who's blowing smoke.
No, I just said imitating Bowie.
Imitating Bowie. Yeah. And I thought, okay, this is real. I want to meet this person. So we did. But I've stolen the floor.
No. For me was, I told you, but it's a funny background that that was, of course, around Bowie's birthday. It was on January 3rd.
3rd or 4th that year.
And I wanted to go somewhere where people playing Bowie. And I looked up several things. And I chose your band because there was a Canadian and a British person in it with 3 Hungarians. So I said to myself that, okay, there is a chance that it wouldn't be absolutely horrible.
Sorry, Hungarian people. English is a hard language to sing.
Yeah, but listening Bowie with accent is... Yeah. And I went without any expectation. I was in 0 level, giving this, okay, let's see how it is. And I arrived to Moon Age Daydream, which is what it was one of my favorite songs. It's still, but it's always changing. And I was quite awestruck by the music. And you did a very clever mashup with Space Oddity.
Into Lazarus.
Yeah, the Space Oddity went down, and the Lazarus, it just came out. And I wasn't able to listen Black Star almost a year, because it was, no, it's not. It's, no. So it was a very personal album for me. So when, that first, that rhythm or how do you say, the
that-
first tactile,
the riff and the bass
the
that
riff,
starts.
yeah. I was like, oh no, I'm not prepared for this. But the Lazarus is a tricky song because it seems simple. The lyrics is not so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are just singing, like you are singing Ace of Base, is not doing the thing. It's not happening anything. It's just a song. Great song, but nothing happens.
Like a plane that stays on the ground.
But you were, oh, you were so brave. You know, what I really appreciate that you somehow you were able to put all of these layers of honesty. I cannot fully explain myself, but if you are not able to put the meaning behind those words, that's so freaking empty. You know, you have to be able to convey the message, the emotion, the deepness, the honesty, the you know, you have to be naked when you listening this music, not when you are performing. But you somehow you were able to put the content behind that, and I was just standing, and you know, my tears running, and oh, I'm shaking a little bit right now too. That it was so amazing, and I needed to tell you that was amazing because lots of people, you know, they are going home and never say anything about anything because that's an experience, and I felt that I need to share how absolutely beautiful it was, and here we are.
I'm glad you did, because I wasn't going to write to every audience member, did you like that?
And you know, it was very innocent. I didn't have any
Agenda.
in agenda or back intention that the singer. I wasn't even noticing you as a man.
You didn't know who you were writing to. You just wrote to the band's page.
That's true too. So it was an interesting thing. And the other thing about this kind of art is I'm drawn to the artists that who are able to shake the world, who are able to dive in chaos, who are precursors of a new era, like Gaudi. How you know, like this how, or Klimt, you know, and you are in front of their art. I cannot, of course, it's not everyone is in the same art, but and Bowie was the same. When you are experiencing through you, when we were in front of Klimt, in front of the Kiss, which is a huge painting, absolutely enormous one, and they are just doing this with you, you know, like they are just, you know, to somehow just grab you and scoop you up, and we were just there, and both of us hand in hand, again crying. We are always crying, we are very sensitive, emotional people, but there was a mini sculpture of the Kiss in front of the painting for blind people.
Oh, that's right.
And I went there, I closed my eyes, and I started to touch, and because it was a completely different experience with it, that I could touch the leaves and the hair of the woman, and you know, so these people are doing something with the whole humanity, with the whole world, where, as you said, this weird place could be a good place for all of us if people are able to make this art. Then humanity couldn't be so bad, you know, that's something inside us which is very worthwhile and magical, which is, you know, connected to this transcendental chaotic era that we are trying to understand with all of the science, religion, beliefs and everything. And with art you can just diving into it like a little kid without any constraint, and just experience and discover the universe, you know, the energy of creation. So I don't know, that's why art is so amazing for me, that it can do this for you.
And it's dangerous. Maybe this is what
Yeah.
you're talking about. And this is when you were talking about the artists who are just such a departure from what's come before, and it takes so much courage
To pave the way, you
yeah,
know,
just
just
to,
go
no,
ahead.
this is
Yeah.
this is what I see, this is what I feel, and this is what I'm going to do. But this is dangerous, and you can imagine why authorities are disturbed by that, by people who are firebrands, and history confirms that these people were just reviled and attacked, and not just
Revolution can
Yeah.
come after them.
yes, yeah, and they do coincide, don't they?
Yeah.
Revolutions with changes in.
We
yeah.
need some art here.
Yeah, we need some- but it's true. It's and because it's dangerous and because it's upsetting and disturbing, there's all the more reason to explore this and not treat art as some sort of frivolous sidebar. It's to incorporate the idea of art into your thinking, into your life, and into the way you interact with the world, and to enjoy the deliciousness of the bravery, of the gutsiness, and use that that the people in the past have shown us as encouragement for finding your own bravery and your own dangerousness and your own willingness
To say no for the odd.
yeah, to say no from time to time, just to see what happens.
And we can join through art to a crowd which has the bombastic energy, you know, and you know, when you are in a concert and suddenly the mass is a one big emobi and it's just doing this, and this energy, if you are just, you know, going a little bit sideways, you have the spark of the revolution like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why they don't let kids to create freely and disciplining them that you have to do this, you cannot color outside of the line,
Be a good little citizen.
be a good little boy,
You get a gold star.
yeah,
And we'll get you closer to that chair in the corner office. But the real prize is not that.
Mm-mm.
All right. Stay weird, stay dangerous. Find your inner artist. Enjoy other artists. Connect with each other. Do something really crazy, like take an art therapy class. Because you've got nothing to lose.
Or
and
go
everything
to
gain.
concerts.
Or pick up an instrument that you've never played before and think, well, I don't care. I don't know how to play this thing. So I'm just sit down at a piano. If you've never touched a piano before in your life, just hammer away, play.
I will try, for example, because I know this is not super crazy, but a little bit out of the box. I was dancing contemporary dance,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to try the classical ballet because I was never tried that. I really enjoy, but it's a completely different thing. And you know, painting for me is absolutely new. But as a kid, I always liked to play with the colors. I didn't like the crayons and the pencils, but
You'd like to paint because it was liquid and you could mix them together. Wow.
so you have to try. You have to, you know, it's not have to, but it will activate something in you, I'm sure.
Yeah, you lose nothing and
Gain a lot.
yeah, and you might just enjoy the delicious naughty you that comes out when you connect with art from inside and from outside. We know. We know.
Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you very much. And we will see you on Tuesday when we draw our topic for next Friday. We really appreciate you watching and listening to the Lemon Water Chronicles. This is a very important journey for us. We know that this is going to stay out there in Etherland forever, and so it's chronicling these moments in our life and in the world. We haven't talked too much about what's going on in the world, but this is a volatile time. This is a fascinating time in history. So we feel like you're a part of it by letting us be one of your windows to this time.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Share this if you want with your friends. Subscribe if you like. There is no obligation.
No.
We would be very happy if you would share your
Very
thoughts.
happy. Yeah, we'd love the comments.
Yeah, we would really appreciate that.
People would probably comment about the plant. Is that a variegated hosta or... Yeah. Anyway.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.